and admit.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Beena. Good
Okay.
morning, Beena.
Good morning, Syl. Hello. And oh, I must say that. Good morning, Syl Sebastian. How are you?
Oh, I am most excellently well. I am most excellently well.
Ah,
Absolutely so. Yes.
okay.
Lots of exciting things
Yes.
going on.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Most
Yes.
exciting.
Yes. Okay. So good morning, everyone, whoever is watching us and will watch us recorded. Today is a fun-filled and exciting. I really hope that because I, I I must say that okay, I'm pretty sure because this is what I feel. This is going to be an exciting episode for this show of Sil Sebastian today because Sil is going to share something really magical. I was awestruck. Like finally, things are happening. Things are going where they belong. This is what we are continuously saying. Okay, so today's before we start about sharing about because I want Sil to share all these things, details with you. Before we start today's thought, appropriateness is more than what I was expecting it to be. Sometimes we assume that, okay, yes, I understand. It happens many times, especially when you are continuously doing something. You assume that you've got some sort of idea, at least in an overall picture. Like you got like, okay, oh yeah, I understand the basic concept of. But we sometimes overlook the word basic we say in our sentence. Oh, that's somehow the basic idea of it. I got it. It was actually the basic idea of it. And the appropriateness is coming again and again and again in my life, almost like many times a day. It happens, and I was like, oh, what is appropriateness? Capital A appropriateness is
Yes.
asking me to be, is asking me to be and asking me to do. These are the two questions. And of course, the third one is like how. So this to be and to do and to how. These three questions are coming and all are based on or coming from the appropriateness. Because all the morals, ethics, norms, practices of culture, society, your personal culture, your family, your religion, your ideology, any type of ideology, your personal likes and dislikes, preferences ask you to do, we follow that a lot. Oh, this is how we do things. This is how I like. And this is what I don't want. This is what I never, okay, this is I don't care about. This is what I don't like. These are the common sentences. These are the common things we always say. We all use in our daily routine. But when we start to pay attention to deliberate living, then these type of questions are asked. Okay, what is right now in this moment? What is appropriate? What appropriateness is asking me to be? What is appropriateness asking me to do? What is appropriateness asking me to how? Okay, these are the questions.
Oh,
And once your paradigm starts shifting, once your worldview starts shifting, this question is so critical, so crucial. We have to change and adapt. Yes, we were doing things in a different way. And Sim gave me this thing, and he says that Beena, you need to pay attention who you are and what you need to do, what you're supposed to do in this new situation, in this new paradigm, I must say, because for me, this is going to change a paradigm. This is just an initiation. And and I was like, wow. But again, the answer was appropriateness. This is what we need to do. Nothing more
exactly.
than that. Nothing other than that. Just be appropriate in this situation because you
Yes.
need to learn that. And this is the real crux of learning and growing. That we need to learn to adapt and grow and utilize the situation to extract the maximum value out of every single moment. It was, or it might be, it was for me, it's a completely different way of being. And it is going to be, you guys will experience a lot of changes, a lot of updates, a lot of new things introduced in our way of doing things and in our way of being also. This is what I'm
Oh,
planning to, because appropriateness is coming in all aspect of our lives. This is what is happening.
appropriateness
Like, oh
is
yes,
coming.
yes, you will see that in all, like, okay, in the front and back and up and down and everywhere. Why we are doing things in such a way? Because of appropriateness. How we are doing, this is what appropriateness is asking. This is how we need to do. Who we are now, we are just appropriate. We are just trying to be appropriate in this particular situation. So any change, any update, any new thing getting introduced in our lives, in our way of being, in our how we are going to project ourselves, will be from our side maximum effort to be appropriate.
See,
This is going to be.
that's what it's all about.
Yes.
So it's all about. It's very simple. Very simple. Now, one thought, but one thought
Yes.
can lead to an entire complete change. Everything, right?
Yes.
Just one. Taking
Yes.
it, next step, next step, next step, keep going.
Keep going. Keep
Appropriateness, what does
going.
it mean? Keep going, keep going, keep going. Your whole life will change because of this. But I like that. I like what you said. Appropriateness is coming.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I added to my quote file, Beena.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
an honor,
And I said
because this
Beena
is what
said,
I
not
feel.
B said. Appropriateness
Okay.
is coming. Beena said. I know. It just
Okay.
felt
Wow.
right to say Beena said rather than B said. I don't really know why,
Okay.
but I trust it.
Whatever.
All right.
Okay. Again,
Now,
appropriate. As
yes.
appropriate.
Yes. So exciting announcement. I'm done with all the sharing. I'm going to
Good.
screen share in a moment. And while
Yes.
everything is uploading, and I'll make the post later. But in the meantime, to satisfy everybody who was asking and waiting, Lisa, Sue, just off the top of my head, you were keen for the to watch it. I think Cheryl also said, where can I watch it? Uh, it took a little while for the video to get to me. Video files are very big, and with the gigabytes of data, and to share a video file, it's a little more complicated than just a regular one, right? That's why I typically upload it to YouTube and then share the link, and then that's a lot easier. All right. Nonetheless, I have the file. I was hoping to get it yesterday, but we got it today. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to play the video from yesterday now. And Beena and I are going to critique it as well. Now, we've got two questions here, Beena.
Yes.
Before we do this, I'm thinking, do we play it through entirely and then replay it and critique it? Or play it and pause? And I think we play it all the way
Oh,
through
no.
first, yes?
Yes, yes,
All right.
yes, yes. Because people who are keen to watch, they can watch it going through that one way, one go, and then we can, of course, do that.
Exactly.
So
Okay,
yes.
so without further ado, let's do this. We move it right here. Where's Norma? Where's Norma? Where's Norma?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
face
yeah,
down.
yeah. All right, hang on, hang on. Let me message her. Actually, will you message her for me, please? Just say Norma, we live, because the time change has thrown her out, and she's remembering
Oh,
an
okay.
hour later. Yeah, so she hasn't
Oh,
gotten into the habit of it. So please, if you message her for me there while I get this ready to play here. All right.
yes, I'm doing.
Now, I just want to set it up so that it shows nicely. Yeah. Like, here we go. All right. All right. Wait. Pause. All right. There we go. I want to get my screen nicely done. Um, all right. So this PBN podcast business news network, PBN network, in other words, they're a big network. They're in the uh, top 1.5% of podcasts. Now, I know they call themselves podcast business news, but I think that's how they started. But in this section of them, they're very big. They do lots of different things. They're a huge deal, and they just focus on mostly things to do with self-improvement, personal growth, life change, stuff that adds moreness to your life, right? Life enhancement, I guess, is the focus of this part of their whole organization. Um, and we're doing episode 1. I'm scheduled to do. I was originally scheduled to do 10, but as a result of this, they decided to make me their professional of the year, which is a very big deal. I was just speaking to the senior vice president, who's the number 3 guy in this company, and his job is just to take care of me. That's it. Now they do have, if I understand things correctly, I mean I'm not just the only one. They have different segments of the organization, like they do others. Like this is in the field of life enhancement, and I believe they have a whole section. I have to find out more. That's got to do with legal stuff. So they have different professionals. So he takes care of more than one person. I've only seen 2, just myself and the legal professional of the year. So anyway, it's pretty special. Let me put it this way: like I didn't get the video yesterday. The regular producer of the show, he said, "Oh, I'll send it to you," and he didn't. I called Stephen. Half an hour later, I have it. This guy's for real. It's just we tend to take stuff and say, oh, it's kind of BS, and they're smoozing you. No, I made the call. The producer, I mean, he's hard to get on the phone, man. It's like, wow, he never called me back. He's very busy.
He's a
He's
very
busy,
busy,
fair enough.
yes.
But Stephen, this is his job. He called me back a few minutes later. I mean, he was on a call when I called. A few minutes later, calls me back. Half an hour later, bing, I had the thing. Yeah. So this was it. Or less than half an hour. I was like right away. Yeah. This is very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So I'm missing you, Norma. I wish you, yeah. And am I screen sharing, Beena?
Nope, nope, nope,
No?
nope.
Okay. Screen share, and let's get going. And we're going to now watch the interview from yesterday with Joill Mancini. And just to introduce Joill is a professional interviewer, and she's also a celebrity interviewer. She does red carpet interviews, like for the Oscars, right? I mean, yes, you can go and look in her bio. She's interviewing Brad Pitt and whoever. There's a whole bunch of names there that she's interviewed. I don't remember. It doesnn't matter. All the celebrities, whoever, So she's a celebrity interviewer. That's how on her bio, that's what she's called, celebrity interviewer. Just saying, not that I'm a celebrity, but nonetheless, she doesn't only interview. Well, I'm still a regular person, obviously, but they came to me and said, "Would you like to be on our show? Do an interview?" And okay, I've been approached before. All right. I've done other stuff, not much, but a little bit. I don't really pursue it, and I will now more. So, however, uh, I said, okay, I'll do this. So then I went, and the first interview is 5 minutes only. I'm like, wow, wow. I wasn't expecting 5 minutes. I've never done a 5 minute interview. And like, wow, this really surprised me, and it was like really different. And then I thought about it. And I thought, well, all right, this makes sense because it's a test. And then it turns out it was, right? That it's basically just a sample, a test interview where they do these 5 minute ones and they gauge the listener reaction to it. Mine went off the charts, right? So I had way more than normal. And so, wow, they're very happy. I mean, just in the 5 minutes, they had well, they played it and then they replayed it because in the first one, in that 5 minutes, they had it was like 20 something call-ins, right? Which for them is a lot on the 5 minute. And then when they replayed it, there was the rest, and it was like 47 total, which for a 5 minute thing is a lot, I think. Well, anyway, they were very happy with this. So this was a good test for them. So they said because of that, they wanted me to come and do this 10 series of episodes. All right, now after this we'll discuss what happened afterwards. But this is one of 10 at this point in time. So there's probably if you were listening yesterday, you heard what happened and you saw the post I made. But all right, we'll just go through the timeline. All right, let's watch. Let's watch. So 10, 15, 10, 16 more or less. Here we go. Let's watch. Oh, you know what? I need to unscreen share, and no, I didn't screen share yet, did I? No, I didn't yet. Dang it. I need to put the audio on. That's what I was thinking. Right, so that you can hear. All right, here we go.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Excited to have the
Yes.
founder and creator of Nobelia.org. Yeah, we're talking about the Way of Impeccability and Moreness-Project life change programs. He's also an author and poet, does so much. Syl, Sebastian, how are you today?
I am most well, really, really. I am most well. I'm just excited to be here. And I was sharing with some friends earlier, and they're excited for me to be here. And lots of support for this. So I'm very excited, very happy to be here.
Oh, great. Well,
Indeed.
tell us a little bit about Nobelia is. What is this all about, this world of awareness and understanding?
Exactly, exactly. Sorry, I'm excited. I don't mean to interrupt you there. You were going to say more.
No, no, I want to know what Nobelia is specifically.
All
Tell
right,
us. And by the
all
way,
right.
the
So
website, Nobelia.org,
correct.
Nobelia.org. Tell us
Yes,
about the
yes, yes.
self-discovery
Thank you for
project.
spelling it, because sometimes when I say Nobelia, like and people hear it with an I, but it's an E, Nobelia. So Nobelia, yes. It comes from noble, nobleness. So Nobelia is it's the home of an it's a long story, but to get there really short, Nobelia is a representation of moreness. And Nobelia is the home of a culture of moreness. Now, what do I mean by moreness? I mean a culture that revolves around learning and growing, around where you want to be able to be your moreness. And I don't mean it in a typical success point of view. When we say this, people think, oh, this means being famous or wealthy. No, not at all. It means developing your inner sense of who you are so that you can be able to be who you really want to be. In other words, to develop your qualities, such as simple things like your inner integrity,
Yeah.
being able to be honest all the time. This is huge. Yes, it's a big deal. It's
Well,
a
I
massive.
think it's amazing, but I also need to find out the man behind all of this. So I need to
All
get
right,
to
all
Yes.
right.
know
So,
you. Please,
oh, sorry.
please.
Thank you.
Really, we
Right.
need to
It's
get
good.
more
It's good.
about you. I want to find out first and
In a
foremost,
moment, I'll say
you're
more. I want to
living.
add a little bit more about Nobelia.
Oh, sure.
The
Go ahead.
culture of Nobelia, why it's called Nobelia, is because it also revolves around nobleness.
Ooh.
Now, I say nobleness rather than noble or being noble
Mm-hmm.
because the word noble, sadly, is very corrupted because of our history, right? When we
Yeah.
think of nobility, we think of historic nobility, which is based on hereditary, and
Mm-hmm.
basically they were the very opposite of nobility, unfortunately, right? But on nobelia, this concept of actually being noble, nobleness, right? This is what the culture there revolves around, right? So it's an entirely different culture beside, obviously, the self improvement point of view, personal development point of view. You have to have that if you're going to aspire to be noble. You have to get all your P's and Q's sorted out. You can't be snarky or mean or
Yeah, too
sarcastic or
long,
jealous
too
or
long.
any nonsense like that if you aspire to being noble, truly being noble. So this is what I mean by moreness, right? Going to that extra level, extra step, taking it all the way. And the key part of Nobelia, called Nobelia-Living, just for a way of understanding it, is to live in such a way where we are engaged in collaboration and cooperation, not competition. Why? Because the entire paradigm of Nobelia-Living is entirely different. Our paradigm that we exist in here today
Yeah.
is the superiority paradigm. This is what it's all about. Hierarchy, looking how high you can get on whatever pecking order list that you're possibly in. And, it's
See,
always about how we relate
that's
and
my
compare to others. Am I better? Am I worse? It's always this hierarchy and dominance, and we get all of the problems that come from dominance. And, that
She
we
wants me
see,
to
such
finish.
as, abuse, manipulation,
See, bouncing.
narcissism, especially. Oh, they're all encouraged by the superiority paradigm,
Yep.
right? That's what
Mm-hmm.
it's all about. A horrible thing. So Nobelia-Living is an alternative paradigm to the superiority paradigm. And not as the only one. I'm not saying it's either or. No, it's simply saying superiority paradigm, don't want it, something else, right? We can, once we realize that there is an alternative, that means there can be other. You don't have to have this particular one.
Yeah.
I particularly like it a lot, but that's me. I'm biased. This is what Nobelia is all about, right? So Nobelia represents, it's
Saying
a
right.
world. I mean, it's part of a long, big book series, but in a metaphorical sense and in our day-to-day, it's a world, right? And that's what it's representing. You know, in a figurative sense, in a metaphoric sense, Nobelia is a world of an alternative paradigm, a world we can live in right here. Now, in this world, we can live and apply Nobelia-Living, which I'm going to share with you, because it seems to me that if I'm hearing you correctly, and I say hearing, it's capital H hearing, Nobelia hearing, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. I'm hearing you, Jill, if I'm hearing you, this interests you personally, not just
Yeah.
from an interview point of view, yes?
For sure.
It's important, you know, because for me,
Yeah,
I said to Jason, the producer, I said, when I do interviews, I somewhat interview the interviewer a little bit as well.
That's fine. Whatever you want to know.
Right.
I like fun. I don't. How did you get here? I mean, what you're doing is fascinating. Hold on, I just have to point this out because it's part of my job to make sure people get to know you. And I know we're talking about breaking free from the should,
Thank
the
you.
what,
Thank
the limitations, and how to
you. Yeah.
start living deliberately like us, and
There
this
you go.
paradigm
There you
change.
go.
We're going to
There you
get
go.
to this, but
There you go.
you,
Now, you
at
just
the,
said something
I,
super huge, and
I
thank you.
did.
We'll get back to it later, but thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
That's a huge deal. Huge deal. Yeah. That's how I got to be here. So it answers your question also. You actually answered your own question, which I love. Right? I got to be here because of deliberate living. That's how I got to be here.
At the
Wow.
age of 10, this all started, though. Where did you grow up, by
Exactly.
the way?
Exactly. All right. So I'll tell you that little story there. So when I was in that age, I used to have strips of rubber cut from inner tubes for car tires. Now, all right, today cars don't have inner tubes, but back in the day they were, and it's rubber, right? So I cut them in strips, I don't know, about a foot and a half long, and I'd wrap it around my finger, and I'd shoot stuff with this strip of rubber, right? It was wonderful. I just shoot everything. I got to be really, really accurate. I mean, I could shoot a fly anywhere, a mosquito, whatever. Shoot the ash off your cigarette, whatever. So there was a bulb hanging in our passageway, and there was this fly sitting on the bulb, right? A light bulb. Didn't have a lampshade on, which is rather unusual actually. So I shot at the fly, and I missed, and I was deadly. I never missed ever, and I missed just ever so slightly. I got the fly, of course, but I also
Yeah.
hit the light bulb, and the light bulb literally exploded. Right. So I'm like a little bit disconcerted, and my mother comes out, and she sees me a bit upset, and she thinks I'm upset because I shattered the light bulb, but I was upset because I'd missed. So she misunderstood. So I kind of explained to her, and she says,
Wow.
"Well," and she says, "Well, we can't all be perfect, or we can't." No, she didn't say all. She said, "We can't be perfect," and it stopped me. And you know, at 10 years old, I'm like, "But why not? Why can't we be perfect?" Yes, and so I went to my room, and I thought about this. It was kind of my habit already. I really thought it through. So I'm like, well, what does perfect mean?
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, I had this a propensity or this inclination or whatever you want to call it to thinking things through to the end. That was
Amazing.
always important to me. Now, I personally feel it's a kind of a carryover. I don't know how it comes about. Truly, don't ask me. I can't explain why. But I thought it through to the end. So, in
Yeah.
this thinking it through to the end, I said, well, first of all, I have to understand what perfection means. What does it actually mean? So I did a study. Yes, I know. Okay, it's a little weird. I like did a research study, like a psychology research study. I went out and I asked people. I queried them. What does what does perfection mean to you? Now, this sounds like a simple study, but it's a very conservative society that I was in. And, you know, a lot of the people said, well, perfection, that's meaningless, it's nonsense, you can't have it. And some of them would say, I got this very often actually. They said, oh, perfection would be very
Yeah.
boring. And in my innocence at the time and my lack of sophistication, and I hadn't yet learned Nobelia diplomacy, I said, did you realize what you just said? And I remember one older boy, when at moment he said, oh, yeah, but perfection, that's just boring. I said, really? Just think about that. What did you just say? And he realized what he said was oxymoronic. It was self-contradictory. It didn't make any sense. If it was boring, it wouldn't be perfect. And the
Yeah.
moment he clicked that he just, basically, said something stupid, uh, then the next moment I saw his face change, and that's the moment I ran away because I was about to get a smack. So, it was quite fascinating to me how this understanding of perfection was oxymoronic. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. So I thought it through to the end, and I came up with my first act of philosophizing, which was my definition of perfection, which
Uh,
is perfection is a state of being from
mm,
which, if you had the power to change anything at all, you would not. Yeah. So this is it.
beautiful.
This is perfection.
This
Yes.
is perfection. You are, oh my goodness, you are on fire. Well,
Thank
we
you.
also just want to remind people how we can
There she sees
contact you.
the
Tell us
feedback
again the
coming.
website, nobelia.org. I'll spell that for them,
Let's connect.
Nobelia.org. But I know you also have a great Facebook page. Could you share
Yes.
a little bit about that
Yes.
too?
Yes. All right. So you can find on Nobelia right there with the pages. You
Mhm.
can click on connect. It's just, or you can go /connect, and you'll find all this info that I'm going to share now. And
Great.
on to connect with me, yes, you can just look up Syl Sebastian, and it's Sebastian with 3 A's. It's
Okay.
actually quite significant. Yes.
Oh,
It-
tell us. Yes,
yeah,
I've never met a Sebastian like you with three A's.
precisely. But this is the magic of my life, right? When I at that age, Sebastian is my middle name, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't really care much for my first and last, and Syl is a nickname, just so everybody knows. Right? I'm not hiding anything ever, just the way of how things come out via attunement. But Sebastian back then was spelled S-E and Tion, which is also somewhat unusual. But I never liked it. And when I was in my late teens, I changed it to Sebastian with an A and the
Okay.
A at the end, the 3 A's. No idea at the time other than, well, it's kind of a long story to it, but it was something I did. And I put it on my driver's license, and it became, now it's actually retroactively. I got a birth certificate recently. I got a copy, and it's got Sebastian spelled this way, my
Oh,
way,
wow.
not the way my parents spelled it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the significance is that what's behind me is the A plus philosophy, way of impeccability. And we'll get into it in later episodes. I'll go into detail, but that's the background behind me. And the 3 core A's of this are appropriateness, attunement, and awareness. Right. So my name has that in it, just from the way the magic of the world, how things work out. This is my life. This is my life, right? And that, so to finish my story about perfection, once I'd figured out that perfection is something we define. It's personally defined as perfection, and therefore it's attainable. If I'm in a situation where I don't want to change anything, well, that's perfect for me, right? And and I play golf, I make at least 18 perfect strokes. Any golfer's going to say, no, come on, seriously, really. Every time you make a putt and you put it in the hole, it's perfect.
Yeah.
This is what you're trying to do, right? The objective, you achieved it. If it's in the hole, it's perfect. So perfection is a variable, and I like that. And it's something that requires some discernment to comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Discernment is a very big deal. And of course, it's practical. This is the point for me, that I wanted that practicality. So in that defining of what perfection is, I at that time said, this is what I want to do. I want to get to a state of being that
Yeah.
I feel is perfect for me. Right now, if you're thinking things through to the end, that's why it's always, if I write that to the end is all caps, right? Got to be really emphasized because it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Then I said, well, what would I need to get to my idea of what things would be perfect for me? I would need to have awareness. This is what I said, right? I need to know what it means because I wasn't aware of really
Yeah.
what perfection was. So then I started my path of acquiring awareness. Yes. And this is a practical issue because the first thing when I started to think about awareness, I said, well, what is awareness itself? And then just to cut a long story short, the consequence of that thought was
Yeah.
horror, was absolute horror when I
Wow.
became a acutely aware of how unaware I
Mm-hmm.
was. Right now, this was really quite a big deal to realize how unaware we are. It's very scary, especially if you in a it was a very conservative society, and of course, superiority paradigm very prominent. So bullying was a very big issue.
Yeah.
Now, most kids are aware of bullying, but if you become aware of awareness and you're paying attention to your entire surroundings, you become acutely aware of things like that. And you become acutely aware of how vulnerable you are and how unprepared you are. Right? So this was like not only that, but we got canings at school at that time, right? So if you forgot something, like the classic thing was our we call them PT shorts, physical training, I think gym shorts, right? You didn't take your gym shorts, you get a caning for that if you forgot your gym shorts at home. You know how often this happened? All the time, right?
Tell us,
All the time.
yeah.
It was like I never got a caning for it because when I did forget sometimes, but then I'd always remember when I got to school and I'd find somebody else and I'd borrow theirs, from a different class who had it at a different time, and got me out of trouble, right? So this was, but I was horrified that I
Yeah.
could forget something like that. And it wasn't a memory issue, it was an awareness issue. And I was aware of this, right? So this was like, I mean, there are many other instances, and I managed to stay out of trouble because of this. I never got canings, well, only twice, but still, because of staying out of trouble, because of awareness. But the horror of it, to realize just how fragile your existence was because of lack of awareness. And that started me on the whole path. So when you take this all the way through to the end, what does it mean to live in awareness and to be deliberately aware? Like you said, deliberate living. Right? So all of the resultant behind me is from that moment on, this was my entire life. Every single
Wow.
second was geared towards this. I want to add one
Wow.
more point to this.
Wow.
Yes, I realize, when I share this, I'm like, it sounds a little bit kind of out there, but we live in private realities that we don't always share with others. And what goes on inside of us is a very big deal. Now, I have 2 points that are very important here. When I was 6 years old, I had a very particular incident. I call it the bathroom incident. Now, when I say the bathroom incident, it sounds like, you messed in your pants or something. No, I went into well, we didn't call them bathrooms then, we called them toilets in where we were. This bathrooms is the American word. But anyway, so I went into the bathroom at school, right? And an older boy, a much older boy, that school actually was interesting in that it was all the grades, right? So I was in first grade, and this boy in like 10, 11th, maybe 12th grade, he was bullying another first grader. And like, it was really not physically hurting him. It was just basically giving him a hard time. And the boy was kind of in tears a little bit. And then another older boy came in, right? In 12th grade. And he said to the bullying boy, like, seriously, what are you doing bullying a first grader? Like, how lame are you? Yeah. And anyway, so the bully leaves, right? Kind of put, and he just said it to him like that. He was very sophisticated, this boy. It was really unusual. That was like in a super conservative society. Um, the town before I got to the other one. Anyway, so then he says to the two of us, like, you guys should know better. What are you doing here on your own? Yeah. It's not, he didn't use the word appropriate, but he said, come on, think about it. Don't be out here on your own. And and then I realized that you were saying, in my mind, I said, be appropriate. And also, he said, he made a point about behaving, behaving in a way that is right for school, yeah, to take school into account. And from that, my takeaway from that, when I thought that through, I said, well, I basically need to have a public self and a private self. Yeah. And from that day on, I had a public self and I had a private self. Because the things that you could do at school, this was like really that particular, because I moved from there,
Yeah.
that particular society was one step away from being Amish. They just didn't wear the uniforms
Wow.
and they used technology, but that was it, right? So super conservative society. So you had to really, really be careful about what you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the public self and the private self. And I want to say that private self was never secret. Nobody just ever
Interesting.
asked. If you'd asked, I would have told you. So I had this inner life, which I would have been happy to share, but I never had anybody to share with it. But also, in a way, it helped me because in my ignorance and not sharing this, I had no limitations on what I could do. Yeah.
Wow.
In other
I
words,
love it. And that's what you're helping people do too. No
exactly,
limitations, guiding them down this journry. And we unfortunately
exactly.
only have 3 minutes left in the show. It goes so quick. I just want to make sure we're
Really?
covering everything, Syl. Yes, yes.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
What else do you think is important to share? Hopefully we're going to talk again, so we'll have more time to break
Oh, we
down
are. We got 10
everything.
more shows to do. So, well,
Oh
9 more
my
now.
goodness, this is
Yeah.
great. Okay, good, good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So
So
let's sum
we're
up
doing
then
the
for
full
today.
10. Yeah. Say again. Sorry, say again, Joe.
No. So how do you want to sum up for today, if you don't mind?
I just want to ask you, how do you feel about Nobelia-Living? How important is Moreness to you and deliberate living to you in your personal life? I'm
Very
always
good,
curious
Syl.
to ask.
Very good.
So much. I am a mom, a single mom of a 7 and 9-year-old, right? And I believe in honesty. I believe in truth. I'm trying to teach my children to be more aware, more self-sufficient, start working early, be kind, and always do to others as you would have done
Love
to
you,
you.
Joe.
Simple
Love you.
basics. You know, we go to church
Very
every
good.
Sunday. Their religion
Yes.
doesn't mean they're trust me, they're 7 and 9. They talk back, they
Brilliant.
do the wrong
Brilliant.
thing. We all make mistakes, but I'm trying to teach them the
Brilliant.
value of everything. And I want
Earnest
them to
goodness.
live this
Earnest goodness.
amazing best life ever, right? Because as
Yes.
we get wiser and mature, I only wish I knew then what I knew now, right? We all say that. So
Yes. So I'm
it's
going to share. Oh, God, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I was watching the time there. I just want to say next week, I'm going to share Way-of-Impeccability
great.
from the perspective of how it applies to children.
Beautiful. And hold on, your book. We have to tell everyone about your book, Making Sense of Toxic, Abusive People, right?
Yes.
We can get this
Yes.
on
Yes.
Amazon. There's
It
so
is on
much more,
Amazon.
Syl. I can't wait to
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
to you.
I'm releasing new books about to come this week, actually. One is this week and one
Yay.
probably next week called Ask Biella, and it's all about what we're talking about.
Oh,
That book is about the superiority paradigm. So just,
beautiful.
yeah, it's
Well,
about
thank you so much. Syl
pleasure.
Sebastian, go
Pleasure.
to
Thank you, Phil.
nobelia.org, Nobelia.org. And he's really helping so many as an author, a
Yes.
poet, life changer program through this. You
I
need to
didn't see
talk to
that.
him. I'm excited to know there's more books. Can't wait to talk next
Wow.
time, Syl. Thank you
Wow.
so much.
There's always more. When it comes to me, there's always more. Let me just say it now already.
I love
Bye-bye.
your energy. Thank you for sharing this
Thank
with
you.
us and uplifting all of
Yes.
us today. You have a fantastic day. Thanks so
Brilliant.
much.
He has to be professional. Cut me off. It's all good.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
What do you think, Beena? What do you think, Beena? What do you think? Beena? Where'd Beena
Okay,
go?
so before
Oh. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Beena. We got lag. We got lag.
oh sorry. Okay. Can you hear me now clearly?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So before I share my personal understanding, and of course, as Syl says that okay, we are going to critique this, and not negatively necessarily, but we are going to analyze this and really do a thorough analysis of this as much as I can, and of course, Syl is going to do that. Before I go into this, I want to say something. It turns out really good. That's the most important thing.
Yes.
What is the end result? So it turns out really good. It was a limited time period, and as Syl always have like so much more to share, and in 30 minutes it's nothing. So it is necessary. No, it is not necessary. Again, it was appropriate to share about those things. It was appropriate. Now we are going into the details. So the first, I just shared my positive thinking about that because it turns out well, it means that it was appropriate. That is
Yeah.
again the basic way of checking things.
Yes.
Not
Beena.
so really well things. Yes. Sorry.
I was keen to go through and do it, but I changed my mind actually.
Okay. Yes.
The reason being is that I don't want to draw attention to trivial, unnecessary things. Like you said, the most important thing is that it went over really, really well, right? And this is what I want to mention. I said in the beginning, right? I'll share later. Right. Now, for me, I can do better. And the one thing that I will change is my perception of time. When she said we got 3 minutes left, you saw my face, right? I was like, how really? I had felt we had only been going for 3 minutes, not even three, like one. It
Hmm.
just was like, I couldn't believe that we'd gone 27 minutes, right? This was to me most stunning. Now, also, I was paying attention to the timing and the rhythm to not just be talking all the time and to interact with Jill. But there was so little because to me, I spoke for 10 minutes and I think I'm speaking for 30 seconds. Right. So my sense of time was completely. I've had this many times before. It happens to me kind of all the time. And it's kind of marvelous thing. And I deliberately worked on being able to do this. In other words, if I'm writing, for instance, if you are acutely aware of time, your time's going to go very slowly, and you're going to spend 5, 6, 8 hours, 10 hours writing. It becomes a chore. But when you get immersed in this bubble time, like I do, I write for 8 or 10 hours, but it feels like to me I've been doing writing for half an hour. It's like 15 minutes. It's like no big deal, right? So this is very powerful thing. And I'm gonna stop saying write so much. Very powerful way. Well, I say it because I want that confirmation back, and it's very important. Otherwise, you lose connectivity. But I need to adjust. In other words, I need to adjust my time and slow it down so that I can and compress what I say very much. Because if you watch Jill, did you see her bounce like that, Beena?
No.
Oh, watch it. If you see again, she'll see a bounce a bit. It's like I'm going a bit long. There's a rhythm and a timing, and because my time sense wasn't matched to hers, I went too long and together. So I have to compress it, and so that I can speak much shorter, and then get feedback from Jill, and then say again feedback from Jill, and comment interaction. Now next week we're going to do this very much more so, where she's not interviewing me, it's an interactive conversation, right? A different modality that I wish to establish with her. And also, I spoke to the senior vice president. Wonderful guy, really wonderful guy. Really like connecting with him and really enjoying connecting. Like I enjoy connecting with Jill. I really like Jill. Really enjoyed connecting with her. I'm really looking forward to getting to know her, not just her getting to know me. Yes, it's her job, to share me and find out and hear about me. But I want to connect with her personally and share personally because that's how I operate. Yes, obviously, anybody listening and listeners, they're going to be, I think it's the most effective way of accomplishing her objective, which is to share me to the world. Right? So I think this is the best way. But I want to have that compression of time. And next week, I spoke to the senior vice president, what I was busy saying, and I shared this idea with him. I said, I want to start sharing Way of Impeccability. He thought this was great, and the reason for this is that the show went so well. They got again. I, she said it in a way that when she's looking down like that, right? She's looking at her control panel, which is showing all the people wanting to call in, people making comments, people giving likes, whatever. I don't know what all her metrics are, but that's what she's doing. She can monitor in real time how the show is going, and she said, "Oh my God, you're on fire." You remember that, Veena?
Yes.
Or you're on fire, something, right? That's when she saw how the thing was going. Yes, and this is a big deal because immediately after the show, she called up the senior vice president who's in charge of this, and she says, "I want Syl to be the professional of the year," right? And I, I don't know what the process was, but he agreed. I assume he was watching the show or looked at the show or looked at the metrics. And the next thing, I get a call from him. His name's Stephen. And so Stephen, he's Stephen Simons, a wonderful guy. Yes, I really like him. I mean, I really have connected with him. Anyway, so he says you're professional of the year, and as a result of this, they essentially double the amount of interviews that we're going to do, or shows. They're really shows rather than interviews. At least I'm thinking of them as more of a show, because I'm going to be presenting stuff, like a talk show, right? But all right, interview. So anyway, I think of it as a show. So we're going to be doing double the amount of shows, so 20 more or less, and they will increase the number of billboards. And I get to go on Charles D. Smith's show, and he's also a big deal in interviews. An ex-NBA player who now is interviewing people. Undiscovered Gems. Undiscovered Gems is the name of his podcast show. And this is, if you're into podcasts, I don't particularly listen to them very often. Just busy, but when you eat, I don't commute. If I were commuting, then I probably would more, because it's a very effective way to use your time when commuting. It's most excellent. Anyway, so I get to be on his show, and I get to choose when on his show. It's quite a big deal. Like Stephen was telling me, his show, they guarantee 100,000 hits. Wow. Okay, I'm not, hits can be going different way, but he said, but more likely it's like 250,000. Now, however you define hits and different people, it doesn't matter. My point is, he's making a point that this is a show that gets a lot of attention. And when I go on that show, I'm going to do it once Ask Biella's about to be published or just published, and go to promote Ask Biella, right? That would be my objective there. And background years from one of the chapters from Ask Biella. And then I'll promote the book there on Ask Biella. So this is the big deal that came out of it that I was saying. So yes, this is started off as 1 of 10, but now it's going to be likely 1 of 20. I have a feeling it's going to go a lot longer than that, but we'll see. Because I said to Stephen, I was thinking about this, that I had planned to go over the 10 episodes, 5 video. They said 5 video, 5 audio. So I don't know if they're still going to stick to that, but I said, well, what I want to do is, and I was discussing this with Beena, and you pre-plan, of course, you're being thorough, part of impeccability. You prepare. You got to be professional. You got to be impeccable. And then I said, well, the first one I'll talk about Nobelia. The second one I'll talk about Way of Impeccability, and the third one I'll talk about the Moreness-Project, and then the fourth one I'll talk about the books, and in the fifth one I'll sum it up general. I had a different 5, but it changed anyway. But then I said, if we're going to be doing 20 episodes or more, now, if you just every time coming in, it's a new topic, a different topic. If I'm listening in the car, right, and I maybe I catch the beginning, I catch the end, say, oh, I've heard this guy before. All right, so no, maybe 3, 4 times. Oh, I like him, he's interesting. But maybe when you get to episode 10 or 12, okay, so I know what he's about. Let me listen to something else, right? Well, potentially. Just my mind thinking. I said, well, what if it's serialized? Like we're on, part 1 and then part 2, and next week. That's why I said next week I'm going to be talking about something so that there's a carryover. You got to be aware of this stuff if you're doing this, right? So it's part of your professionalism. I'm not just there only. I mean, yes, I'm there to share what I'm about. But also, if I'm going to be sharing, part of impeccability says do it thoroughly. Be impeccable about this. So I have to be aware of all these things. So then I said to Stephen, the senior vice president, his only job is to take care of the professionals, right? Like me. There's not many of us, but that's his job, right? And when I called him, he was there. Half an hour later, things are done. Just like this. Oh, it's fantastic. I never had somebody senior and somebody professional and somebody who has, like he's the number 3 guy in this very big company. Like, in other words, when he wants people to do stuff, they do it. It gets done. It was quite fantastic. It was really excellent. Am I hearing something? Oh, it's the wind. Very windy here. So when I mentioned this to him, that there's a carryover, we said, yes, this is excellent, that you have something to look forward to for next time. He loved this idea. It was great. So I'm going to be using Way of Impeccability. It's got modules and sessions, and when you take them all individually, In other words, parts or chapters, you could call it. There's like 25 of them, 27, they're 2 bonus chapters. So I'm going to be sharing this, like next week, we're going to be doing clarity of intent, in other words, right? Which is module 1, session 1. But I'm just going to call it part 1, for the simplicity of the shows. We're going to go part 1. Now, I'm not going to be doing it in the fullness of Way of Impeccability. I'm just going to talk about what part 1 is about, what clarity of intent. And through this, we'll go sideways, backstory, connected. I'm going to connect it to the Ask Biella books and connect it to Biella and the Biella story. Like, what's her clarity of intent? Connect it all, connect it all. So in this, you'll get to hear me, you'll get to discover me, and we'll are related to Joill and her children. Clarity of intent. But clarity of intent. Like, how do I connect this to my kids? Right? Just get them into the habit. This is what I will share with them. Give it away. Just to make an example now is, what am I doing? How many people don't we know, Beena, that we've shared this with, right? When doing clarity of intent, right? When the participants came. The way they ended up using clarity of intent was, what am I doing? And you'll hear me say this every now and then. You'll say, what am I doing? What am I doing? Right? And then, yes, okay. Now, of course, when you take this in the fullness, I don't mean just now. What am I, capital D, doing? Nobelia doing. In other words, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with myself? What am I doing with my soul? What am I doing with my spirit? Yes? What am I doing with my integrity? What am I doing with my intent? What do you mean, what am I doing with my intent? Oh my God, I never even thought of that. Oh, yeah, exactly. Right? So it starts, though, with getting into the mindset of thinking this, right? And when you do, you start little, you go bigger, and they eventually put in a life context. What am I doing? Absolutely doing. It's life-changing, absolutely profoundly life-changing. And it keeps you on track, right? For instance, when we're doing a show like this, what am I doing? I'm sharing something in particular. I call it my center column. Come back to that center column. Come back. You can detour, but come back. It is an incredibly useful thing. Even further so. I'm practicing for next week, by the way. I didn't mean to, but as things go, even more so. Why is it so critical to have clarity of intent? Because it changes the way our brain works. And particularly when it comes to learning and any activity, never mind learning, when you have clarity of intent, your brain starts to automatically filter everything around you to only connect you and make you aware of to that which is pertinent and relevant to your intent. Now, it's an intent rather than a goal. So it's slightly different. An intent is more than a goal, right? An intent is a serious issue. You put energy into this. This is a big deal. So in order to have clarity of intent, we even understand intent too. But all right, even take it in a more ordinary way. Clarity of intent maybe begin in childhood even, says Norma. Absolutely, Norma. For me, I had this intent towards, as I said in the show, I had this intent towards my idea of what perfection is, right? Now the word would better be, I called it my path to perfection, right? But back then, but now I would call it, I'm on a path to moreness, right? Moreness is a much better word than perfection. So yes, I'm very clear about this. And also, of course, awareness, right? This intent for awareness, to have real awareness, not just bubble awareness, but to be aware of life, the universe, and everything. In other words, to connect to the all of it, to connect to the universe. And that clarity of intent, and the reason why it's so important is it because it highlights, your brain starts to highlight and emphasize that which is pertinent and relevant. And when that happens, and you get that pertinence, let's take it in a very simple thing. I want to publish my book. Very clear. What is my intent with publishing my book? Well, some people might say, well, I like my book and I just want to have it out there and, so I can put on my resume that I have a book. Oh, well, somebody else says, well, I want to publish a book because I wanted to sell and I want to make money. Somebody else says, well, I want to communicate. I want to share. I want to bring a new concept into the world. You have to be very clear about what you're doing. If your intent is simply just to have it published for your own satisfaction, well, there's not much to do, right? But if your intent is to sell it, then you've got to understand marketing and promotion and advertising and all of this stuff, right? This is very different. It changes. If your intent is to sell it and you are focused on that, now you're scrolling through stuff, you do a search on Google, you're going to notice stuff. Oh, hey, this is related to what I want to do. See, clarity of intent makes us more connected to what it is we are doing. Now, mostly people are a bit fuzzy about what they're doing, so they don't get those connections. The greater your clarity of intent, the more pertinent and the more relevant the connectivities, the things that come to you, the things that you notice, they're there. It's just that your brain is so brilliant, it will filter it based on the clarity of intent. But of course, the filtering is dependent on how clear you are, how focused you are. It's an incredible thing, very incredible power. And of course, again, it is a moreness to it, which is when we get pertinence and relevance, that is capital P pertinent, capital R relevant. Now, this is emphasis. Your brain goes, oh my God, this is so pertinent. This is exactly what I wanted. This is so much what I needed. This is just right. And now you get all excited. Emphasis. Emphasis changes your brain. And when this is applied to personal learning and growth, as in Way of Impeccability, Module 1, clarity of intent, is going to ask you, the participant, why are you doing this program? What do you want to get out of it? What is your intent for doing this? And then we will refine that, right? Now you say, well, I want to be more aware. When you're very clear about being more aware, you're going to get pertinent and relevant input from life, the universe, and everything that is going to do this. And when that happens, that emphasis, and now you emphasize things that add to your awareness, which makes you more aware. Incredible tool for learning and growing. An incredible tool for learning and growing. It is absolutely critical, because if you don't have clarity of intent, you're getting information that's here, there, and everywhere, and it never gets filed appropriately in your brain, which is important, associations, and it's inappropriately emphasized because you're scattered, you're all over the show, and you're wasting your time. Clarity of intent leverages the intent of the universe towards your own awareness. It provides you pertinence and relevance, which creates emphasis, which makes for moreness in your brain. And now what you are intending sticks and stays with you, at least, especially in the context of personal learning and growth. That emphasis changes and rewires your brain, right? This is a massively big deal when it comes to personal growth, personal learning. Yes, of course, if you're doing this clarity of intent, like in let's say for me, I want to sell my book, or I want my book to sell, right? Then you see all the pertinent issues about marketing and advertising. It keeps you focused, right? So the module 1, session 1 is called clarity of intent and focus of purpose. Yes, so clarity of intent enables you to focus your purpose. And the more focused your purpose is, the more effective you are. Yes. Anyway, so I'm practicing for next week. That's what I want to share. But now, how do you connect this to children? How do you connect this to children? By, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Again, focus. Know precisely what you're doing. Yes. And then through this too, as your children grow and get older, you introduce them to the concept of context. It's not only what you're doing now, what are you doing in the entire day, in the entire week, and so on, right? And as they get older, this gets to be a lifetime. And when you start thinking from overview perspective, what am I doing? This is life-changing. Don't wait until you get to midlife crisis to ask that question. That's typically when people do ask that question, right, Beena? You muted, Beena?
Yes.
Right. I'm saying that what am I doing in the context of their life? They ask it in midlife crisis. Now, some of them, as we know from some of our participants, are much younger, and they ask this at a much earlier age. Yes. Now, of course, we ask this at school, because when you get towards the end of school, you sort of need to, right? Not even the very last year. You actually need to almost start thinking about what you want to do with your life. Well, at least for me, it was when I got to high school, in the middle of my schooling career, because you had to choose your subjects for the high school that you're going to focus on, and that determines how you go further. That's amazing. So we need to have an idea, at least. It doesn't really matter in the end, but it does make a little bit of a difference when you're at school already, right? In middle level school. You got to start thinking about this already. What am I going to be doing with my life? Now, that's in a more occupational sense, but it also goes to what you're interested in and what do I want to do in my life. It's a big deal. It's kind of a heavy responsibility to put on kids that age, I got to say. But anyway, oh, no, no, don't say goodbye, Beena, Norma. Don't go, don't go, don't go, don't go, don't go. Why you got to go? Why are you saying goodbye? Stay with us, Norma. Stay with us. Stay with us. We're going to read some from the book because I'm keen to do this. I know we have other things that are exciting, but hey, we're doing both. We're doing both. We're going to read some articles. So don't go, Norma. Don't go. Don't go. Don't go. Norma and Beena, did you see toward the end of the interview with Joill when she was sharing about her children and what she does with them? She was sharing her earnest goodness. Or at least we could see her earnest goodness. She wasn't specifically sharing it, but her sharing revealed her earnest goodness. Did you see that, Beena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, when she spoke about her children and what she wants for them, and honesty and integrity and things like that, right? She mentioned, yeah, that's very important. Yeah, earnest goodness. She has a deep earnest goodness to her, as most people do. As most people do. Most good people have it. It's very important to connect to that and point it out. And I'll mention this to her, that this is a big deal to me, her earnest goodness, right? Very cool, very cool, very cool. Any comments on the interview, Beena? Like I said, I'm aware of what I need to do in the critique, and it's just to shift my time awareness. So I'll watch the clock. I normally don't. Like when we chat here, a little bit, but not really. But I will be acutely aware of real time, not soul time. I like soul time; it works very well for me, but to be aware of actual time. Bye-bye. Anyway, if you have to go, Norma, I'm glad you came a little bit. I'm glad you came. What do you have to say, Beena? What do you have to say? What do you have to say?
I think it's all good. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Any comments? Any comments on what I was saying for next week? I was preparing. I just took the opportunity. It came up. I thought,
All
I might
good.
as well practice and run with it. Yeah.
All good. All good. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Where were we? Where were we? Yes. Yes. Did we read this? Yes, I did. I did.
You're
Yesterday
not
when you
sharing
weren't here.
screens.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Uh, Yesterday I read this one. What can we do to move the world towards sensibility? Now we've gone over this many times. We share this. What can I do? It's come up many times, right? And we can share, we can be positive, we can be our moreness, we can connect to that, and have an open mind. Essentially, be more, be impeccable, be more, and that will change the world, right? And that contributes to being sensible. If you want to move the words towards sensibility, be more sensible yourself. Yeah. And stop being opinionated. Focus on self-evident sensibilities, things like this. All right. I don't know if I can't remember what all Biella said there, but it was a great article. And this piece of art was so appropriate. I shared lots about it yesterday, that how this connected, it was so representative to even more than what was in the article. And just very cool. Just a wonderful piece of art. The interconnectedness, layers, perspective shifting, all of the stuff. Very cool. All right. What can I do about conditioning? See, this is the next one. And I made my background today to be this one. Not that we want to read one article every day, but at least for the first one. What can I do about conditioning? Wow. I just like this picture to represent this, connectivity of conditioning coming in, and, how it's at the back of the head like this, and, showing the brain inside here. This is just excellent, right? It's just excellent, because we don't think of conditioning. Yeah, it's kind of in the background. It's at the back. It's kind of subtle. Yes. I heard a sound like a message. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right, good, Norma. Please stay there. Please stay there. I love when you're here, Norma. You are very important to me. Yes, and Beena. Shouldn't just say it like that, but I'll say for Beena. All right, beautiful Beena. We've been missing you. We missed you yesterday, and a couple of days before that, I was reading because you were energy managing, and now I think you're back in energy for to read. Yes. Read away, please, Beena. Read away.
Okay. Valuable opposite logic. What can I do about conditioning? Here, MC. Conditioning is an incredible force. Actually,
Beena,
it
before you
is a
get too
bit.
much, sorry, I should have said this before. This is Camellius. Camellius
Okay.
asking this question. Isn't that something?
Yes.
All right, sorry, start again. Sorry, I sort of put it in that context for you, because if you were here when you heard the story, the book one of the Biella series, where Camellius is in, it's quite an astonishing question from Camellius. It's quite an astonishing question from Camellius, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Beena?
Actually, it is. Yes, it is a bit blur. It's still uploading, so
Oh,
screen is not clear for me.
oh, one moment. Let's do this. Make it even bigger.
No, it's not about bigger. It's blur.
Yeah, no, I know, but when it's bigger, then it has less to upload, and then it makes it more clear more quickly. Is it better now? Not yet?
Not yet. So
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Interesting. Is it getting better?
not now, but okay.
All right. Well, then I'll read a bit. Then I'll read a bit. One moment. One moment. Okay. Just had to reply to a message. Important stuff. All right. Valuable opposite logic. What can I do about conditioning? Dear MC, conditioning is an incredible force, and the counter conditioning perspective is so amazingly valuable. But it's a constant challenge to deal with old imprints. I see this as a long term boon. As a necessity from universal perspective. Not only does it force us to be perpetually vigilant, but it also causes us to be aware of personal programming, how it works, and how powerful it is. I just wanted to emphasize that. Causes us to be aware of personal programming, how it works, and how powerful it is. And this prevents us from simply replacing our system of being with another. An even greater danger, as we may believe our own conditioning we have implemented is a final self, a grave danger. Wow, 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 wow. Seems to me that Biella's compressed a whole lot here. Yes. I mean, first of all, she's
Yes.
saying counter conditioning is an incredible force. And the counter conditioning, I think it's rather to say but yeah, or however. Wow. There we go. But more importantly, the counter conditioning perspective is amazingly valuable. All right, that helps me a bit there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. To me, the value of the constant. Oh, I was going to say, so this, she introduces this idea that, yes, conditioning is an incredible force. She says incredible, not negative, because the question implies it's negative, right? And as we know, but where she says, but more importantly, the counter conditioning perspective is amazingly valuable. It's a constant challenge to deal with old imprints. Right? I see this as a long-term boon. What do you mean as a long-term boon? As a necessity from the universal perspective, right? Um, let's put it this way. I see this. I see. What does she mean by this? This necessity to recondition, right?
Hmm.
That's more clear. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. All right. I see this necessity to recondition, right, from the counter conditioning as a long-term boon, as a necessity from universal perspective. Yeah, that's actually, in this case, not hyphenated. Not only does it force us to be perpetually vigilant, but it also causes us to be aware of personal programming, how it works and how powerful it works, how powerful it is. This prevents us from simply replacing one system of being with another. That is a very, very big point. Would you agree, Beena? All right, so we grow up conditioned, like, in the small
Yes.
town that I was. I grew up in three different places: the tiny town, the middle town, and the very sophisticated. I went from one extreme to the other. It was incredible. I mean, the most tiny, smallest little town, middle of nowhere, in semi-desert there, Amish culture. I mean, like super conservative. Two Beverly Hills 90210, international, very sophisticated. It's incredible. It's just like, what a gift from the universe to go from that such an extreme. Yeah, I think absolutely incredible. Really fantastic. But again, let's assume I had some of that conditioning, or I never had. But let's assume I had been. Yes, like some people. And then they move to the town and they say, oh, wow, here's a new system. And you just replace it. And replace it with this alternative system, believing it's the be all and end all. And you get stuck because you think it's the, yeah. So we have to be very cautious here, right? If we believe that our own conditioning we have is a final self, we have to be very careful of that. There's no such thing as a final self, as far as I know. Right? Or maybe if you kind of die, you get enlightened, and I don't know, then you may have a final self. But in reality, not really, right? Well, even if we may be at the final self, we'll still be open to the idea that there may be more. It may never come, and then we'll know, all right? But you still stay open to it. A grave danger to me. Yeah, tell me when you're ready to read, Beena, because I actually would prefer it if you read when it's clear for you. Say when, yeah?
Yes, I will.
Okay, then just say ready, then I'll stop and you read. To me, because I like it when you read and you make sense of it for yourself. This gives me great joy, Beena. It's really, really wonderful to do, right? To me, the value of the constant awareness of our old ways is invaluable towards what I regard as a potent goal, that of deliberate living, deliberately being conscious and aware all the time, a way of being which allows for maximum living. Wow, absolutely. I mean, we don't think of it, but when you read it, it's kind of, it's a duh, but at the same time, it's revelationary. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a big deal. I mean, it's huge. Wow. Oh, okay. Deliberate living. Wow. Yes. All right. Constant awareness. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now she's obviously, if we think about it, but she's taken the question, what do I do about conditioning? Right? What do I do about conditioning? She's taking it to say, use it. Use this awareness of conditioning to, yes, you want to go counter conditioning, but you don't want to substitute one conditioning for another. Yes. So you use that leveraging between the two. You use a counter conditioning to break the conditioning, but not to implement a alternative conditioning. That's no good either, right? Stay open, stay open, stay open, right? Not that final self, right? And get to deliberate living. Because if you're living deliberately, you're not living conditionedly, correct?
Yes.
Right? You might say, yeah, but you're conditioned to live deliberately. And all I say, I'll just smile with kind of half my face. Right? You know, a bit of a sardonic smile. Yeah, but you've conditioned yourself to live deliberately. Yes. Think about that, dude. You know, it's a one-step thought. Like they say, very clever, you know, like, you know, some people always trying to find objections, you know, those people, right? And they love to feel
Yeah.
clever. Oh, yeah, but, you know, you've just conditioned yourself to live deliberately. Yes. Say it in that neutral way. Well, my face just kind of seems like it's a bit swollen, but maybe it's just the light. Um, allows for maximum living. Another benefit of previous beliefs coming back is the reminder of our former selves, keeping us connected to the worlds of others. I love you, Biella. I just love you. So, you know, to me, she makes this statement and it sounds so casual. It sounds so simple. Yeah. Another benefit of previous beliefs coming back is the reminder of our former selves, keeping us connected to the worlds of others. The sophistication here is off the charts. Let's see why. You're going to see now why. Allowing us to maintain perspectives and understandings of them. This I see as vital for functioning in the world, enabling compassion and an insight which can easily be lost without the constant reminder of all the variations of being. We have to start at zero when it comes to awareness, but that's sometimes easily forgotten. In other words, our old selves are other people. Yes?
Yes.
This allowing us to maintain perspectives and understandings of them. Because the old self, when I was there, I understood that. It made sense to me. But now I see somebody else who's in that space. And similarly, and because I'm not there anymore, I can see it from the outside. And because of bringing this back from the old, right? And I maintain a connectivity to it, right? Another benefit of previous beliefs coming back is a reminder of our former selves, keeping us connected to the worlds of others through understanding via seeing them, via ourselves having been them. Yes?
Yeah.
That's the implication here, right?
Exactly.
I feel this can be elaborated on a bit. Yes?
Yes.
All of our old selves. Ah, ah, ah. Oh, typing, typing, typing. All of our old selves. Oh, Yes? Makes sense, Beena?
You have to read it for me, sir.
Yes. Well, with all those typos, yeah. Oh, let me fix them. I don't know what happened to my typing. I guess I was really busy thinking about what I was saying, and so I wasn't focusing on my typing. Okay. Oh. No, it's not. It's not. It's our. Oh, there, they fixed it now. Right, right. Okay. No, nope. Okay. So I'm saying, yeah, I'll read the whole paragraph. You can't read? Is it still not clear for you, Beena?
Yes, it is not. My network is not helping.
Oh, okay. No worries. Another benefit of previous beliefs. Of previous beliefs coming back is the reminder of our former selves. Right? She's connecting our way of being to beliefs, another sophisticated layer here, right? Oh, yes. Love you. I love you, Norma. Yes, absolutely. It's such a joy to know you, Norma. Really, you bring so much. You bring so much. Ah, but I just love this, the sophistication of this. She doesn't say another benefit of whatever previous selves. No, she says is the reminder, our previous beliefs, to associate our belief with a former self. We were a self, a kind of a person, a type of a being because of our beliefs. Very, very, very insightful, very potent, very powerful. Another benefit of previous beliefs coming back is the reminder of our former selves, keeping us connected to the worlds of others. When we had those beliefs, we were a certain way, a certain kind of person. And when we meet others who have those beliefs, we now know how they are and how they operate. We have a way to identify and connect, at least more or less, right? Allowing us to maintain perspectives and understandings of them. We may have forgotten those old beliefs, and now suddenly you're so silly, you're so stupid. Well, I was silly and stupid once upon a time too. See, and then that goes away. Now I don't think that anymore. I just understand this is where they're at, and that's it. And especially if you unhook from superiority paradigm and don't say it's bad or good, that's just it's how we are. We are all evolving. We are all growing. Sometimes we're in one place. Sometimes it's not a linear line. By the way, you can jump around on it. So we go sideways, and there's not a more or a less. It just this is what you're learning now. I remember when I was learning that, and that's it. So that allows me to connect. Or I may connect with somebody who I have no clue what they are and say, well, this is a potential future self, both positive and negative. I may go backwards, right? Like snakes and ladders. I may get swallowed up by beliefs, and then I devolve a little bit in my awareness, and I get caught up in whatever nonsense I'm caught up in. It happens. Yeah. So evolution, self-awareness, self-growth, snakes and ladders. Anyway, in other words, are allowing us to maintain perspectives and understandings of them. This benefit of previous beliefs, conditioning, right? When we're paying attention to conditioning, which is previous beliefs, right? Previous beliefs, conditioning, right? Same thing here. In other words, all of our old selves are others when they're in that same space, just as others are also our future selves. Awareness of all of ourselves enhances our ability to understand and connect with others thus. This I see as vital for functioning in our world, enabling compassion and an insight which can easily be lost without that constant reminder of all the variations of being. We have to start at zero when it comes to awareness, but that's easily forgotten. Biella says this I see as her constant humility, but I think it's not necessary. She can just say vital. Eh? I mean, she doesn't have to qualify it as being her opinion. Yes, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I can just take that out and just say vital functioning, right? I mean,
Yes.
Biella's modesty and humility and not wanting to tell is why she says, "This I see." In her opinion, is vital. And so I'm debating whether to leave it in or not because you know, that's very important. I don't want to be like, yeah, I'll just leave it. Yeah, okay. That's who Biella is. Resetting goals and ambition. Oh, goals and motivations and ambitions. My ambitions are motivations. Resetting goals and motivations. Tell me when you can read, Beena. I'm keen for you to read. Conditioning and intent are intimately connected with motivations and goals. Unhooking also entails disconnecting from the inadvertent intents generated by societal programming. And to tie it all together, for me, deliberate conscious living is intimately connected to undoing our reactive mechanisms. Most of our lives involve reaction, if not all of it. Once we're able to not automatically react to anything, but select from a wide range of choices and then make a decision from those, we are on the path to true freedom. Yes. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah. There we go. We can now respond rather than react. This connects to that ever-present but critically important vital piece of these interconnected mechanisms of living, which are anomalies. Wow. 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 We're moving fast here, right, Beena?
Yes.
I mean, this is a deepness, but she's going very quickly to get all this. I mean, in Way of Impeccability, we take it, we go in all detail. It takes a long time to get from where she started to where she's now. I mean, this is like super compressed here, right? If we're going to
Yes.
unhook from convention, unhook from the goals and motivations generated by convention, unhook from reacting, unhook from unconscious and subconscious living, we have to shift to choice. And yeah, when these were originally written, I didn't want to use the capitalization because I didn't have the context to explain what they were in the newspaper, right? And people can react negatively to that. But this is in the foreword, it is explained. Oh, I don't want to, why am I putting this there now? What did I do now? Come on. I want to go, yeah. No, that's what I was trying to do. Yes. But yeah, there is an explanation of dictionary of power and why it's capitalized and why it's important and why it matters. It's all right. So right, we have to shift to choice, but choice is problematic. What to choose? These are all capitalized. Yeah. Once we truly start to consider the question of what is best for us in the context of the largest possible context that it can apply in, we realize we cannot possibly know for certain. Wow. 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 That's the gift of intent story, right? That's the question the young man sought to answer in the path to perfection, to tie it together to what I was saying from that. Yes. The path to perfection is obviously what is best for me is what I would consider perfection. If I'm in that space where I've acquired and accomplished and achieved what is best for me, and I'm enjoying the fruits of what is best for me. Yeah? But how do I know? How do I know the path to self-wisdom or the goal of self-wisdom is flawed? Yeah, that was what all his pursuit of self-wisdom was, to answer this question: is what is best for me? We don't know,
Yes.
and we can't know. All right, let's go back here. Once we truly start to consider the question of what is best for us in the context of the largest possible context that it can apply in, we realize we cannot possibly know for certain. We simply have to acknowledge that we don't have access to all the information needed to make such a decision. So what do we do?
Mm.
I'm going to repeat this. What do we do? So what do we do?
Ma.
So what do we do once? So what do we do? So what do we do once we are aware? Whatever decisions we make, they are likely to be flawed. Wow. 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 There we go. So what do we do? What do we do once we are aware? Whatever decisions we make, they are likely to be flawed. We have to look at information coming from outside of ourselves. And that information is via anomalies. And I'm going to emphasize anomalies also. Okay. Selective filtering. Now, this is all connected to conditioning. Don't forget, right? What can I do about conditioning? See, it's up there in the top.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Selective filtering. And this relates to what I was saying earlier as well. Selective filtering in terms of, attention and how it works, emphasis, the clarity of intent. The power of clarity of intent is that we end up with selective filtering, but a guided, a pertinent and relevant selective filtering. Anomalies, that which does not fit, what's odd and different, what's not easily explained, that which grabs our attention in amongst all the noise and clutter of regular life. We can think of anomalies as highlighted points of attention. They are simply oddities which our subconscious has not filtered out. It's very significant what she says there. There are oddities which our subconscious has not filtered out. By implication, there's many oddities that do get filtered out. Yes, absolutely. But anomalies are particular, right? And the ones we notice, this is going to come to this. In our daily lives, we ignore or filter a tremendous amount of information, but our subconsciouses can feature that which is meaningful, relevant, and pertinent to us in some way. Yes, and this is exactly why clarity of intent is so important, because it makes it. I think we just have to notice and also understand the particular language of anomalies, how they work. Yes, Beena? This is why, all right, let me read the whole paragraph again. In our daily lives, we ignore or filter a tremendous amount of information, but our subconsciouses can feature that which is meaningful, relevant, and pertinent to us in some way. This is why clarity of intent is so important, as it determines the focus of that selective filtering. The focus and featuring, yeah? Of that
Yes.
selective focus. We just have to notice and also understand the particular language of anomalies, how they work. Always what's isolated in these ways is what's in some way connected to what's important to us, what matters, what's of issue in some way, what we really want to know deep down but are stuck on. The other part to understand is anomalies are symbolic. I need to make a comma there. The other part to understand is anomalies are symbolic. I think I'm actually going to put a colon there because that's very important. What's been curated by the subconscious is that which symbolically I think I want to say curated, selected, just in case curated isn't, it's not that commonly used a word here. I'm concerned that it may not be understood. Think teenagers, Beena.
Yes.
See what I mean?
Yes.
That's better. What's been curated, emphasized by the subconscious is that which symbolically, according to our own personal interpretations, has all we need to resolve that inner conundrum, question, or problem. Yeah?
Yes.
The other aspect of this is we need to be aware. The other aspect of this we need to be aware of is that these communications from ourself to ourself are always pertinent and relevant in the now. They are intimately personal, very much like dreams are. Wow, very cool. Whatever meaning there is to be extracted, extracted, extracted. Whatever meaning there is to be extracted, it's according to what things mean to us personally, not some formula or template. Yes? Not some formula
Yes.
or template or what someone else wants to tell us. Okay. So that's also part of the conditioning, right?
Yes.
Huh. Now put conditioning in brackets there, right?
Yeah.
Right. Whatever meaning there is to be extracted, it's according to what things mean to us personally, not some formula or template or what someone else wants to tell us it means. Conditioning. Sometimes our symbolic meanings may overlap with common meanings, yes. But we have to be careful. So often we have additional understandings attached. Okay, rubbing this in here. Our personal meanings are the issue and the most important. Yes?
Yes.
The key point to understand, if we pay attention and connect to these oddities, seeing them as communications. Key point to understand, if we pay attention and connect to these oddities, seeing them as communications from our deeper self, a sensible self. We have, I guess that has to be in there then. The key point to understand, the key point is to understand that if we pay attention and connect to these oddities, seeing them as communications from our deeper self, a sensible self, we have access to perspectives and inputs which are outside of the normal, not part. There's still something grammatically wrong here. Not part of what we usually have access to, and it's almost always phenomenally helpful. The key point is to understand that if we pay attention and we connect to these oddities, we see them. We then see them. Yes?
Yes.
There we go. The key point is to understand, capital U understanding here, is to understand that if we pay attention and connect to these oddities, we see them as we then see them as communications from our deeper self, a sensible self, a self we have access and and we now have access to perspectives and input which are outside of the normal, not part of what we usually have access to, and it's almost always phenomenally helpful. Let's read this whole paragraph again. The key point is to understand that if we, it's just one sentence. And the key point is to understand that if we pay attention and connect to these oddities, these anomalies. Yeah, I got to put that in there. The key point is to understand that we pay attention and connect to these oddities, these anomalies. We then see them as communications from our deepest self, a sensible self, capital S self. And we now have access to perspectives and inputs which are outside of the normal, not part of what we usually have access to. And it's almost always phenomenally helpful. A very big deal. Yes?
Yes.
Alternative options. Living by taking anomalies into cognizance changes everything. It removes the dependence on conditioning. Wow. That's kind of like grabs me as I never made that consciously, that connectivity. I mean, yes, I live by anomalies, I live by attunement, but I never really thought of it as removing the dependence on conditioning. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. It removes the reliance on assumption, but more importantly, it clears intent. All of the old intents have to fall away as the focus of being is now centered on anomalies, and through them, the connection to the greater flow of the universe. That connection is everything. It's what allows us to be maximally appropriate at all times and in all contexts. You were talking about appropriateness, Beena, and how important it is. But when we really get down to it, and I want to be appropriate in the longer term, in the future, and I want to make a decision now, how do I know? On my understanding, I don't know if it's going to be, I need to pay attention to attunement and to anomalies to give me that input that allows me to make a appropriate decision for the future. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. That connection is everything. The connection to anomalies. It's what allows us to be maximally appropriate at all times and in all contexts. And through that appropriateness, we are at max. Everything is perfect for what we need. As we align our intent to wanting what we need, then of course it becomes magical in its excellence. But initially, as we start to focus on anomalies, on what they are, on how to respond to them, and what to make of them, how to deal with them, how to recognize them, our old intents have to fall away. They have to. Right? Because you're saying, if I hold on to an intent and I'm saying, yeah, but I know what's best. Well, I don't. So I have to tuck those out and say, I'm connecting to universal intent. And through universal intent, the language of universal intent is anomalies. And this is how I'm going to find out, right? But I have to throw away my intention. This is very, 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 very profound point here. Yeah. Wow. 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 As we align our intent to impeccably, as we align our intent to impeccably wanting what we need. I'll put that in because wanting, if you're reading this, I'm thinking I'm teenager, right? Oh, I'm focused on what I want. Well, I want a girlfriend, I want a job, I want a car. See? No, impeccably wanting. Oh, well, I guess that doesn't include, whatever, the nonsense ambitions and wants we have as teenagers, right? That word impeccably in there makes a big difference. Yes, Beena?
Exactly.
All right, right. So make sure it makes sense, I'm very much thinking of this when we read these to think of our teenager selves reading them. Yes, Beena?
Okay.
It's important. It's very important to listen. How would my teenage self have reacted to this? That's why I added that impeccably, because my teenage, as we align our intent to wanting what we need, wanting, well, I need a girlfriend or I need a car. Well, then of course it becomes magical. But impeccably wanting, well, impeccably wanting, this changes it now. Right now, it's like, what does that mean here by impeccably wanting? It starts you to think. Well, I don't think that means that fancy car. Uh, any car will do. I don't have to have a fancy car. See, you start to think a little differently when you think about impeccable ones. Very important. This
Yes.
reduction of old intents has a profound effect. It morphs into having an overriding intent for appropriateness. What did you start with, Beena? We see this every day. Beena's completely random thought for the day is profoundly prescient in its potency, in its appropriateness, in its connectedness.
Yeah.
This
So
sentence
this is
here,
something that,
right? This
yes.
this overriding intent for appropriateness. This is what Beena was talking about. Well, she was talking about the application of it, the utilizing of it, because she has an overriding intent for appropriateness already, correct? Instituted. Yes, right, Beena?
Yes.
But now
Yeah.
Biella is saying, hey, Beena, I hear you, what you said. This is fantastic. However, just a little extra point here, all right? Right. Maybe don't say it that way, but just also in this, in order to facilitate and enhance your intent for appropriateness, yes, it would be helpful
Yes.
if you reduce your old intents to the minimum. Clear them out.
Mm.
Be very clear what you want to intend. Yes, intent to
Exactly.
appropriateness, and I think intent to or intent for.
Mm.
It morphs into
Both.
having an overriding intent for. Yeah, it's for. But also it is intent to. Yes.
Yes. I say both. Yes.
All right, well, let's put them both. It morphs into having an overriding intent to appropriateness. An intent to appropriateness. And intent to appropriateness. It morphs into having an overriding intent for appropriateness and intent to appropriateness. And an intent to appropriateness. See, I'm gonna do it like this now, right, Beena?
Yes.
Yeah. This simple seeming intent has profound consequences. It allows us to monitor and observe all the intents which are still with us. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. As we do that, we become aware of them and can unhook. Remember, center column? What can I do about
Yes.
conditioning? Here it is. See, she's come through anomalies. She's come to intent for appropriateness, and allows us to monitor and observe all our intents, which is still. As we do that, we become aware of them and can unhook. The more we unhook from the myriad intents which are in play as a result of conditioning, the stronger and more powerful the remaining intents become. This is I want to put in my quote file. Right. It's a really wonderfully Moreness point here. In this, that we don't think of it necessarily. Just it's a very obvious um, um, strategic point. Yes. If I've got 100 intents, all the energy I have is divided by 100. If I got one intense, my energy is not divided. Yeah?
Yeah.
It makes that one intent 100 times more potent than when I have 100. Yes.
Yes.
This allows us to see the connection between intent and their materializations.
Hmm.
Materialize. Oh gosh, I just think I have to. I was trying to just save typing, but materializations. There we go. And between it, intent and the anomalies. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's very important to see that connection, right, between intent and their materializations and between intent and anomalies. The anomalies are directly connected to our intent. Anomalies are directly connected to our intent, particularly to the overriding intent we have, such as awareness growth. Such intents cover many other intents which may seem of primary concern, such as safety, for instance. Being more aware is the best way of being safer. This is very important. For many, safety is their primary intent. Yes? But they don't think to make awareness their primary intent. Yeah, but what about safety? What about safety? Dude, if you focused on awareness, you're automatically going to be more safe. Yes? See?
Yes.
It's very important to understand this. If we have intents which take care of other intents, then we're getting the maximum, right? Being more is the best way. Becoming aware of these meta intents, this I think needs to be emphasized here. Of these meta intents allows us to see that connection between intent, materialization, and anomalies. Yes, yes. It clears up what is mysterious and seemingly irrational and illogical. In this context and from this perspective, it all makes sense, always. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. This is just a huge, huge chapter, right? This all connects to the time perspective. Time is complicated. It doesn't really exist, and yet we experience it. It all happens in an instant. We are the ones who, through acts of will or intent, are forcing time to be perceived linearly. To be perceived linearly. We do this to facilitate we do this to experience this reality we know. We do this to facilitate experiencing the reality we know.
Ah.
Yes?
Yes.
Just a little clearer. We do this to facilitate experiencing this reality in inverted commas. We think we know. Right? The world doesn't work the way we think it does. We do this to fulfill the task at hand, that of awareness enhancing. Wow. Of becoming conscious of ourselves, of our larger selves, becoming fully aware of the entirety of ourselves, which is able to transform time, space, and energy. Wow. 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 Biella. Dang, Biella. Right? That's all I can say. Dang, girl. Dang, girl. This is awesome stuff. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Right? This moreness, connecting, fully aware of ourselves, which is able to transform time, space, energy. Then this transforming time, space, and energy.
Yes.
Just fantastic. Just too fantastic. There's more. There's more. Holy moly. Temporary belief. I am not fully elaborating and substantiating these perspectives, as not only would that take a long time, but I don't believe it matters ultimately. Yes, I mean, she shared a whole book series, never mind the one book, right? I mean, the whole life philosophy. It's like, wow, this is a fantastic, fantastic chapter. It doesn't matter ultimately. These perspectives can simply be adopted temporarily. That's a very key point here, temporarily. They can be used as a lever, capital L lever. They can be used as a lever, allowing us to gain perspective on what is happening, capital P perspective. Yes?
Yes.
Convenient in that it allows us to view much from at least a tentative working hypothesis, which enables a place from which to observe, assess, modify, and change this hypothesis as needed. This starting point, or this path, this said adopted already, this selected path as needed. Yes? And change the selected path as needed. There we go. Selected and chosen path as needed. Placing all this in the context of ourself as it relates to consciousness and awareness is helpful. One part of us, it seems, already knows it all, but it's not conscious of this knowing. The conscious part is trying to become aware of that huge side of us, which does know it all. That is the underlying intent to consciousness and full awareness. And there's also the underlying understanding of how awareness itself works. So the subconscious can only give hints, suggestions, tips, aids, reminders, clues, etc. that would help and aid us in this work. Help and aid us in this work. In this task of growing itself. Since time is a construct of the conscious self and not an actuality, there's the possibility of connecting to future possibilities. Wow. But of course, knowing the future would defeat the objective of growing awareness. But it can be accessed in the context of appropriateness. Not of knowing the future, but of getting onto the most appropriate path. This is what the anomalies are. Help in preventing us from going down dead ends. Help in optimizing the awareness enhancing process by getting us on the best possible path for this. Path, capital P path. The anomalies are the impossible seeming connections to that which doesn't fit into our current cognition of time and space. Wow, Biella, go. The world is indeed changing and changing fast. For the first time in history, ideas are freely available all over the world. The nature of ideas is such that bad ones die and the good ones survive when they are free to compete. That's happening now. It's hard to hang on to narrow and limited ideas the way it was before. We come into contact with competing and opposing ideas inadvertently, whether we want to or not. The challenge is to continually stretch the boundaries of our cognition and perspectives in order to create the world we wish to evolve into. In order to create the world we wish to evolve into. Biella. Does that, what do I do about conditioning? Does that answer that?
Yes.
I think it does too. That's a wonderful article. Wow. That just kind of, blows my mind a bit there, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a very big deal. That's a very, very big deal. Yeah, very big deal. Wonderful. Good stuff. Good timing too.
Exactly.
Beena, are you still
Yes.
awake or are you sleepy to go to bed?
I am a bit sleepy. Yes.
All right. Now then you go sleep. Okay. Right. Well, I just, before you go to sleep, just come back on Zoom 1 second after we end here.
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right. All right. So end meeting, and thank you all. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. All right. End meeting for all.